All right, so the purpose of this video is to show you the process that I use in class for the hybrid animal project that I do in my Drawing 2 and Drawing 3 classes. Just a few tips that I observed in class that people are doing a little incorrectly or they need more help with. So if you see here, what I'm doing is I'm setting up the overall posture of the animal. I start off with the reference photo of a gorilla. So I broke it down into shapes like I've always taught everyone in my drawing classes. Make everything into basic shapes like ovals and circles and triangles, things like that. So my second reference photo was a mosquito, and I broke that into your basic shapes. So you have two spheres for the eyes, and you have just simple cylinders for the antennas and for its I guess needle that it inserts to draw blood. Overall, if you look at the style that I'm drawing it in, it's a very simple line drawing. There's no shading involved. So now I'm applying the tiger stripes to this animal. The class assigned me a gorilla, a tiger, an elephant, and a mosquito to combine. So I was trying to find a creative way of putting that together. That's also something I wanted to talk to y'all about is thinking of different ways of combining your animals. A lot of people just kind of go with the basics, like, oh, I'm going to make a puma, a tiger, and a cheetah. All those animals look the same. So try to come up with something that's a little more out of the ordinary, something a little unusual. So if you look at my creature, it's very odd because the insect's head itself is just very out of place compared to the body of the gorilla. The tiger stripes, I just like the pattern of it, and I thought it'd be pretty cool when I get to the part where I'm actually coloring it. And now here I'm actually inking the creature. I tend to do this with most of my drawings. Some people don't like doing it. They think it looks a little too cartoonish. It gives it a different look. You can do it without inking it with a multi-liner. I just like to do it just because, from my preference, it looks a little cleaner. I used a Copic multi-liner, I believe it was a .3, to outline this creature. Now, once it's completely inked and outlined, I take a plastic eraser and I erase all the pencil marks that I created. That way, when I go to this third step that I'm doing now of color pencil, it's not interfering with the color. It's not smearing the lead or graphite into the actual color pencil. Now, if you look at the way I'm applying my color pencil, I'm not grinding it into the actual sheet. I've noticed a lot of people use color pencil tend to press down really hard from the very beginning to kind of get this real shiny, glossy, thick layer of color pencil. I don't like to color it in that manner. It looks a little too bold, and it's really hard to blend it in when it's that thick. So I like to go in layers. I started with a really light gray, kind of played around where I believe the shadow landed on the creature's belly, underneath its breast, on its shoulders. Then I came back with a darker gray or black, and I used a little more hand pressure to get these areas to kind of stand out to get that shadow. Color pencil has kind of the same technique as pencil does. You can get them lighter and darker just by simply using hand pressure. Also, you want to kind of get rid of the graininess of your color pencil by going over the same spot in small little circles. It kind of helps fill in some of those spots that you've missed. It gets rid of a lot of the little white spots, and that's typically what makes a color pencil drawing look bad. Is all those little tiny white spots that are missed, and that's what you see a lot when you grind down really hard with color pencil. They'll stand out a lot because you have such thick color pencil, and then every little spot you miss shows up a lot more. And I want you to pay attention to the way I apply my colors. I tend to work very light to dark. So if you don't have various different color pencils, so for instance, like if you don't have a light red to dark red, you don't have a big Prismacolor set, and you're working with just a single red, use hand pressure. Apply very little pressure at the very beginning, and then slowly work your way up to a darker color by applying more hand pressure. Also, anywhere you want to create a darker shadow, I like to use purple in my reds to create those darker shadows. That mixed in with your reds is going to create the illusion of a darker shadow. A lot of people make the mistake of adding black to all their colors, and that's not really creating a shadow for you. It's just making big black shapes next to what you're trying to create. So if I did that inside of the actual eyes of the mosquito, it would create just black shapes instead of just shadows. You want a softer looking shadow, something more realistic. I do understand that sometimes it does turn black in shadows, but you typically want to stay away from that. You want to use a purple with reds. If you're working with, I guess, blues, you can use a green or a darker blue. Um, I like to use greens with my browns. I like to use blues with, grays, things like that. I try to stay to blues and purples and greens for my shadows. That's what I mix into my colors. If you see here on the actual cheetah print, working the same process. Start off with a very light yellow first. I'm leaving the center, the white of the paper, and that's something a lot of people don't take advantage of. The white of the paper is already there for you for highlights, especially when using color pencil. You really don't need a white unless you're going to like use it to blend in stuff a little better. But the white of the paper is already there for you to use. I like to just use the white of the white of the paper to create my highlights. So if you look at that the actual right arm, it already is giving you that illusion that the center of that arm has a great highlight to it, just because there's no color pencil there, and that yellow slowly, blending into the white of the paper, so it gives you a good round shape to it. And you can see it with the right arm as well. I left that kind of white highlight going down the center of it. That's just using the advantage of the white of the paper. Now here I want you to pay attention to the way I'm applying the black to my tiger stripes. A lot of people make the mistake of just completely filling the whole thing heavy in black. But blacks have, a variety of values as well as any other color. So what I like to do is put a very light layer of black or like a gray down first, and then I put a true black on top of that. That way where it's grainy, it still shows the lighter black or the lighter value of black underneath it. It kind of gives you a cool little illusion that, there's little highlights in there instead of just having grainy white spots. Same thing with the tail. What I'm doing here, I'm, building up layers. And that's the biggest thing I could stress with color pencil. Layer, layer, layer it. Start off light to dark. That way you have a cleaner, smooth blend. If you just go super thick at first, it's just not going to look right. Now here's the end result. Like I said, if you use your shapes to build it and you use layering to color it, it should come out nice and clean.